All right, so you want to talk about Alfie Solomons, huh?
You guys really seem to enjoy this character.
Yeah, Peaky Blinders really struck a chord with so many people.
Right. And Alfie's such a fascinating character to dive into because on the surface, he just seems completely unhinged.
Yeah, he's the wild card.
But beneath that chaos, there's a method to his madness.
So today we're taking your requests to really get under the skin of Alfie Solomons to figure out what makes him tick.
He's terrifying, he's hilarious, and he always keeps you guessing.
And maybe, just maybe, we can learn a thing or two from this chaotic gangster.
What makes Alfie so compelling, I think, is his ability to thrive in chaos.
You see it from the get-go. That scene, I think it's the first time they meet, where he just walks out of that bakery explosion.
Oh, yeah?
Like, just baking, Tommy, baking.
That's what sets him apart from the start. The Peaky Blinders, they're used to operating a certain way, but Alfie, he throws everyone off balance.
Because who does that? Who just scrolls away from a disaster with a smile on their face?
He uses those moments to reinforce that image of being unpredictable, of being someone who operates on a whole other level.
It's like he wants people to underestimate him.
Oh, absolutely. It's all part of his strategy.
So it's not just for show, it's calculated. There's a method to his unorthodox methods.
Exactly. And that's what makes him so dangerous and so fascinating. He uses chaos like a weapon.
And he always seems to be playing mind games with everyone around him, even Tommy.
Because if you think about it, in their world, knowledge is power. Being predictable, being easy to read, it makes you vulnerable.
So Alfie's constantly keeping everyone on edge, never letting them get comfortable.
Exactly. And that's how he maintains control.
It's like he's always 10 steps ahead, playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
Right. You never quite know what he's going to do next. And that's the brilliance of Alfie Solomons. And that's where that incredible audacity of his comes into play.
And he's got audacity for days, doesn't he? I mean, this is a guy who doesn't just break the rules, he ignores them completely.
He rewrites them, makes his own.
Like that scene with Sabini. I mean, talk about a power move.
Oh, intense scene.
Even the Peaky Blinders, they knew how dangerous Sabini was. But Alfie, he didn't flinch.
No fear.
It's like he was showing everyone, I'm not afraid of anyone, not even you, Sabini.
He commands respect, even amidst the chaos.
You got to admire that. That kind of fearlessness in a world like that. It's captivating, even if he is a bit unhinged. But is it just pure guts? Or is there something more strategic at play there?
See, that's the fascinating thing about Alfie. His courage, it's not just about bravado. It's about resilience.
Okay, I see what you mean.
This is a man who has seen a lot of darkness. He's experienced things that would break most people, but he just keeps going.
So he's desensitized to the violence, the fear.
In a way, it doesn't cripple him the way it does others. He doesn't have the same, I don't know, moral constraints that other characters might have. And that, I think, is where his real power lies, in his ability to detach and, of course, to manipulate.
Right, because let's not forget, Alfie is the king of playing all sides. One minute he's making deals with the Peaky Blinders, the next he's in cahoots with the Italians.
Even the Russians. Don't forget the Russians.
Oh yeah, he was playing chess on a whole other level.
He understands that in their world, loyalty is a luxury most can't afford.
It's all about survivalism, right?
Exactly. He's a master of reading people, figuring out their weaknesses,
Yeah.
and then using that to get what he wants.
He gives them what they need, even if it's all an act. Makes them think he's their best mate.
Oh, he's good.
All the while, probably plotting something in that brilliant, chaotic mind of his. But here's the thing I find interesting. Even though we know he's playing everyone, we're still drawn to him. Why is that?
I think it's because there's a strange honesty to it, even in the manipulation.
Because he owns it.
He's not pretending to be anything other than what he is, a survivor.
He's surrounded by these characters who are all putting on a show, but Alfie, he's upfront about his self-serving nature.
Which makes you wonder, where does someone like that fall on the spectrum of morality? Is he good, bad, or is it more complicated than that?
It's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Trying to figure out where Alfie lands on that whole good versus bad spectrum.
He's definitely not your typical gangster, that's for sure.
Because he does these brutal things that make you cringe, but then you have these moments, these glimpses of something else.
Right.
Like when he and Tommy are talking about the war.
Oh yeah, that scene gets me every time.
And Alfie opens up just for a second about the things he's seen, the things that still haunt him. It's like, for a moment, you see the man behind the mask.
You realize he's not just this unfeeling, ruthless force of nature. There's a depth there, a complexity that you don't always see in those kinds of characters.
So how do we make sense of that? How do we reconcile the brutality with those moments of I don't know, maybe even vulnerability.
I think that's the key to understanding Alfie Solomons, that word you just used, vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because under all that bluster, all that manipulation, he's deeply affected by the world he inhabits.
It's a dog-eat-dog world, and he's just trying to survive.
Exactly. And that survival instinct, it colors everything he does. His morality, if you can even call it that, it's not about right and wrong in the traditional sense.
It's about doing whatever it takes to stay alive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is what makes him such a compelling character. Because, let's be honest, in his world, the lines get blurred pretty quickly.
And he's not afraid to admit it, which I guess is something you can kind of respect, even if you don't agree with his methods.
He's honest about who he is, about what he does. He's a survivor, and he doesn't apologize for it.
So maybe that's the lesson we can take away from Alfie Solomons. Not to go around blowing up bakeries or anything, but to face the world with that same kind of honesty, that same kind of self-awareness.
Right. Know yourself, know what you're capable of, and don't be afraid to fight for what you believe in, even if it means bending the rules a little.
Just maybe try to do it with a little less collateral damage than Alfie tends to rack up.
Yeah, maybe leave the explosives at home.
He's definitely one of a kind.
Definitely.
It's been a wild ride exploring the mind of Alfie Solomons with you.
A fascinating character study, that's for sure.
He's a gangster, a manipulator, a survivor, but maybe, just maybe, there's a little something we can all learn from his chaotic journey. As always, thanks for diving deep with us.